By simply thinking, I can change the trajectory of where I'm going just by changing the thoughts. And it's true. Just by you and I changing the way that we think, it helps set us on a course, right? And so there are things that I love to embrace in conversation that I like to have as it relates to the mind. You know, a number of years ago, there was a commercial out by the National Association of Advancement of Colored People, and it said that United Neighborhood Fund. It said that a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I can remember as a child growing up, there were commercials where there was a hot pan on the stove, and then they took an egg and they broke open the egg onto the hot pan, and the pan said, and they said, "This is your the pan was this is your brain, or this is your mind." And they put an egg on it, start frying, and this is your mind on drugs. I remember in the early '80s, former First Lady Nancy Reagan had a campaign against drugs that said, "Just say no." I know I'm dating myself a little bit. Just say no. So this whole conversation is about the way that we think, because friend, the truth of the matter is that we live at the level of our thinking. We live at the level of our thinking. I don't mind floors, but I don't care for ceilings. I don't mind floors because we always need to have a starting point, but I don't like ceilings. Ceilings are limiting. Ceilings prevent, right, progression to the next level. So this ideal of thinking. So, like, for example, when I'm talking with a group of realtors, or I'm doing some sales training, I'm talking about mapping the mind for success, mapping our mind for success. You know, we can create new thought patterns in our mind just by simply being intentional about thinking certain thoughts, focusing on certain words and or experiences, creating a vision. So we can map our mind. And so when I'm speaking with the group, I was doing some training last month with a group of realtors, and I said, listen, here's how we're going to start these next couple of days of our time together. You are the CEO of a multi-million-dollar real estate company. You, friend, are the CEO of a multi-million-dollar real estate company. See, you got to have that mindset right from the very beginning that I'm the CEO of a multi-million-dollar real estate company. You got to have the mindset that you are, watch this. Now, this is bold. This is going to be bold. I know it is. You have to have the mindset that I am this earth answer. Just stew on that for a minute. Can you imagine you're this earth answer? Now that sounds shocking because people don't think that way. It sounds like you're arrogant, you're conceited, you're cocky, you're being puffed up. No, I believe that everyone on this planet has an assignment. They have a reason that we're here, regardless of the vehicle that was used to deliver you into this world. When I say the vehicle that was used to deliver you into this world, I'm talking about, it could be something, it could be, I'm here, my birth is, and I'm just being, just being straight with this. My birth, and I'm not saying me personally, but there are people that have experienced this, that their birth is the result of their mother being raped by a man. Their birth. So their birth is associated with a traumatic experience. It's associated with trauma. And can you imagine that every year that individual celebrates their birthday, they are subconsciously, unless they don't address it, they're subconsciously acknowledging the vehicle that brought them into this earth place. And so my intention on tonight for the next 10 minutes is to let you know that you are here with a purpose. Friend, you're watching this video now because you have questions about your identity that you need answers concerning. You're seeing this video now because of thoughts that you've thought about yourself or thoughts that someone else gave you to think about yourself, and you took those thoughts and you embraced them as your own. You know, I heard a story of parents that had a young lady that was born, and for the first, as soon as the doctors handed the young lady to her parents, the parents looked down on the little girl, and the parents said, "You are an ugly baby." Horrible, right? How could those parents say that to their child? They looked at the child, they said, "You are an ugly child." And they said that to that child, whether it's in a joking form, whether it was in a conversational form, whether it was an indirect conversation about the child, the reference was the child is ugly. And you know, the power of that is this: those words did not affect the child until the child believed them. So the parents told the child that you are ugly every day of their life up until the age of 10. And at age of 10, they believed it. And when they believed it, the child looked in the mirror and said, "You are ugly. You are ugly." So every day, the 365 days in a year, once a day, the parents told the child, "You're ugly." 365 days in a year. 365 days in a year. 10 years, that's 3,650 times. 3,650. That's the number of times that child heard her parents call her ugly. And the day that she believed those words is when it made a difference in her life. She began to respond through the lens of how she saw herself. She said, "I am ugly." She identified with an image that was not her image at birth. You understand what I'm saying? So the way that we think matters. And so we got to peel it back. We got to go back. We have to investigate and ask ourselves some questions. You know, why am I here? What's the purpose? Is there a purpose for my existence? And emphatically, without any hesitation, friend, yes, there is purpose for your existence. But we got to get information that's going to shift us, that's going to cause us to think and see and believe and act outside of an image that we have built up about ourselves, or someone else have projected an image onto us. I hope this is making sense. So I want to talk a little bit about unlocking this path, unlocking the mind and the way that the mind operates, the way that the mind thinks as it relates to, you know, where we are going. So I always want to go back to, if you ever want to know about a product, right? If you go to Walmart and you buy a Samsung 65-inch 4K television, right? If you go to Walmart and you buy that television, if you're going to get full use from that television, do you know what the first thing you need to do, friend? You need to read the manual. You need to read the manufacturer's instructions as it relates to the product. See, what we do, and let me say me, I have the tendency to get a new product, look at it briefly, put the instructions on the side, and then start trying to use the product. And I'm underutilizing the power, the impact of the product. And why am I underutilizing the impact and the power of the product? Is because I am not following the manufacturer's desire for the product. So you buy that 65-inch Samsung from Walmart and you take it home and you get it mounted and you grab the remote and you start scrolling through the setup menu. You start scrolling through channels. You start switching signals, trying to find the right signal. Your picture colors aren't what you would like for them to be. The sound isn't what you would like it to be. You're not aware of this, but your TV has the capability to access the internet, but you don't know it because you haven't read the manufacturer's instructions. What's your point, Rich? So everyone that is on this planet, your manufacturer has already written a manual, and that manual has very specific instructions as it relates to the manufacturer's desires for the product. I believe that God is my manufacturer. I believe that He's given me His word, the manual, with very specific instructions from Him to me as relates to optimum performance of the product in this earth. So let me read a passage of scripture to you. And this is where I'm pulling this from, and as it relates to how we think. You know, it's in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, 27, and 28, it reads, God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. Let us make man in our image after our likeness. Let us make man in our image after our likeness. Image after our likeness. Image is external, likeness is internal. Let us make man after our image and our likeness. Let them, man, male and female, have dominion, listen, over the fish of the sea, fowl of the air, over the cattle, and over all the earth, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God is saying, I made you. Now I'm the manufacturer, you're the product. I made you in my image and in my likeness. Image and likeness. Image and likeness. Image is external, likeness is internal. Verse 27, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, created he him, male and female, created he them. Verse 28, here it is. What's my purpose, Rich? Why am I on this planet? Again, friend, remember, regardless of the vehicle that got you here, you came here with a God-inspired purpose for living. Verse 28, and God said, and God blessed them, man and woman. God said unto them, here we go, the five purposes of God for your life. God blessed them, said unto them, here we go. Number one, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion. So God said, okay, I want you to be fruitful, be productive. I want you to multiply. That means increase. Replenish. Listen, you don't restock a shelf unless the shelf is empty. You don't replenish a supply unless a supply was already replenished. You understand what I'm saying? We'll get into that a little later. Replenish the earth, subdue it, and have dominion. So you come into this world, regardless of the vehicle that you got you here. God said, I already have 5 things, 5 assignments, 5 reasons, 5 purposes for you to be on this earth. Now, part of my assignment is to get people passionate and excited about things that they cannot see. And part of getting passionate and excited, if you're going to see something that you cannot see with your physical eyes, that means you're seeing it through the lens of your imagination. You're seeing it through the lens of your thoughts. Because understand this, friend, we don't think in words, we think in images, we think in pictures. For example, if I were to say to you, we were in a live audience, and I would say, hey, someone tell me, if I say dog, what do you see? Based upon our experiences and our point of view and our references, we will say or name a particular dog. I've asked that questions 100 times. I'm gonna say the word dog. What do you see? And not one time did anyone say, I see the letters DOG. Why? Because we think in pictures and not in words, not in letters. So when I talk about the way that we think, if I embrace the idea that I have purpose, I embrace the idea that God called me here to be fruitful, to multiply, to replenish, to have dominion, and then to subdue, I've got to get an image in my mind of what that looks like. I have to see myself successful when I don't see myself being successful. I have to experience a day in my mind on the canvas of my imagination before I live or walk in that day. I have to hold it in my mind long enough until I can hold it in my hand, because the way that we think matters. So let's go back to the example of the young lady. 365 days in a year. Every day, her parents said, you are ugly. 10 years, she realized, you know what? I think I'm ugly. 3,650 times she heard ugly, ugly, ugly. She believed it. Once she believed it, those words now dictate to her how she was going to see herself and how she projected on how others should see her. There's self-talk that's going on inside of some people's mind that is destructive. Think about this. People will call themselves dumb, but if others call them dumb, they get offended. I'm only coming in agreement with what you're already saying about yourself. If you need to get offended with anyone, friend, you need to get offended with the thoughts that you're thinking about yourself. I need to be intentional. Do I have, here are things that I do to help me be, as it relates to my thoughts, right? I have little index card that I write down things, right? And I post them around different places. Uh, like I'm creating content. And so I got this. I don't know if you can see it or not because of the light. I'm not sure if you can see it or not. I don't know. Anyways, so and I was watching the podcast, Myron Golden. Look him up on YouTube. Myron Golden. He's very good. I love the information that he shared. He said, and this is a thought that I have. I got this thought from him. It said, how can I make myself more findable for the millions of people who already want to buy what I would love to sell to them? That's a thought. If you hold it long enough in your mind, you'll possess it in your hand. I have to see it long before I be it. I have to confess it long before I possess it. Now, this is not a blab it and grab it, name it and claim it. This is about, friend, encouraging you about your thoughts. As a man thinks, Proverbs 4:23 says, as a man thinks, so is he. Napoleon Hill wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich. So how do I begin the process of mapping my mind and end with this? Number one, you have to get new and better information about who you want to become. You have to get new and better information. So you're going to have to search out information, affirmations, information that supports who you want to become. The second thing is I have to write it down and look at it daily. I have to write it down and look at it daily. The third thing I got to do is I have to give space or create time to vividly imagine what it is that I am working on. You know, years ago when I was working in a manufacturing environment, and it was in a machine shop, and it was noisy, and it was dirty, and it was greasy. I mean, the money was good. It was a blue collar job. My uncles were blue collar workers. My dad was a blue collar worker. I had aunts that were blue collar worker. I had friends that were blue collar workers, but that wasn't the desire and the path for me. So I got this blue collar job and I'm going to work, but I'm carrying a briefcase every day to work. The other workers were making fun of. I'm working into a blue collar manufacturing machine shop environment. I was a CNC, I was a machinist. I'm in this manufacturing environment, and I was the only one carrying a briefcase. People laugh at me. What are you doing, Rich? They started calling me company man, and I will agree with you. You're right. I said one day I'm going to be your boss. I began to visualize a day, and I began to live in a day, even though I wasn't living in that day. In my mind, I carried a briefcase every day. I sit down, I ate my lunch, I open up the briefcase. There was nothing in the briefcase but a pen, a highlighter, and some notes and one or two books because I was taking some night classes at the time. I did that every single day. I did that every single day. What happened next? I then moved from that position to be an independent person building a real estate career, traveling the country, created six figures, and training other sales professionals on how to grow and be successful, how to create a six-figure business in real estate. What's the point? I had to creative thinking. I had to find an image. I had to get the information. I had to look at that information consistently, daily, study it. The third thing I had to do is I had to give space for visualization, to visualize being the person that I wanted to become, to visualize. I had to visualize. I had to verbalize. I had to internalize before it materialized. But it all starts with the way that we think. So, little friend, I hope you found value in this. Do us a favor, hit that subscription button. That way, every time that we post videos, you get it. Hit that like, hit that notification, and share because we care. Appreciate it so much. Thank you. I see at the top because the bottom it's just too crowded. Now we never look down on anyone else. We're looking down. Give my hand up. We'll see you soon. Let's get